Bonjour classe, je suis ici chez moi. Il neige dehors, il fait froid. Et vous me manquez un petit peu. Je suis seul, mais je passe beaucoup de temps avec ma famille. Je mange bien et je m'amuse dans la neige quand même. Écoutez, je voudrais vous présenter une idée que nous allons étudier cette semaine. Donc, je vais vous le présenter en anglais, comme ça, en classe, ça sera plus facile à saisir. Okay, so here we go. This is from the book, and we're going to take a look at how indirect object pronouns are used. Pronouns replace nouns. We use subject pronouns without even thinking about them. Instead of repeating someone's name all the time, we start to use a subject pronoun. We say, Aiden is on time to class. He comes to class with his sister. He enjoys riding with her because he likes to chat in the morning. That's an example of replacing a subject pronoun, or excuse me, subject with a subject pronoun consistently. We do that without thinking. With indirect objects, we can do the same thing. Indirect object pronouns are going to replace an indirect object, which is to whom or for whom. In English, we don't always have the to or the for to help us identify it. Fortunately, in French, we do. There's always an a or a pour. It has to be there. In English, you can say, I gave her my book. In French, it has to be, I gave my book to her. It has to be there with the to. So when you see our pour followed by a noun, you got a pretty good idea that we're dealing with an indirect object. The indirect object pronouns, of course, there are 6 of them, just like there are 6 different conjugations forms for each verb. Each tense it's conjugated. They're me, te, lui, nous, vous, and le. I prefer them laid out like this. This is just the way we lay out the verbs when we conjugate them to me, to me, to you, informal, lui, to him or to her. No difference in gender. Nous, to us, vous, to y'all, or to you, politely speaking, and leur, to them. Doesn't matter, again, whether we're talking about 100 women or 100 men. It's leur. Indirect object pronouns replace indirect object nouns. So, Claire parle à sa mère. Claire lui parle. I replace à sa mère with lui. J'envoie des cadeaux à mes nièces. À mes nièces, direct object. Je leur envoie des cadeaux. Cool, easy. Indirect object pronoun precedes the verb. Okay, it usually precedes the conjugated verb. We'll see why that's not always the case. Okay, so Antoine, je te parle. Okay, notre père nous a envoyé un email. And the passé composé goes before the auxiliary verb. In a negative statement, the indirect object pronoun still, it always goes before the verb. It doesn't get separated from the verb by the ne. Antoine, je ne te parle pas de ça. Notre père ne nous a pas envoyé d'email. When an infinitive follows a conjugated verb, the indirect object pronoun precedes the infinitive. So we're talking about this construction of the future immediate. And this case means nous allons lui donner la cravate, means that the indirect object pronoun will go before the infinitive. Ils espèrent vous prêter le costume. This is a list of verbs that use an indirect object pronoun frequently, because they have an indirect object frequently. Demander, donner, envoyer, montrer, parler, poser, prêter, téléphoner. I have a much longer list that I'll also show you in another slide. These are verbs that often take an indirect object pronoun. Apporter, to bring something to give, to envoyer, to send, louer, to rent, to prêter, to loan, to servir à, vendre à, acheter pour, faire pour, parler à, téléphoner à. You see, there's a long list of them. Here's a little exercise we can try together. Okay? Bart obéit toujours à ses parents. First of all, what's my indirect object? À ses parents. Okay? Is that first person, second person, or third person? Not me. It's not you. It's them. And is it singular or plural? Plural. Them. So Bart leur obéit. Marc montre sa pomme à Paul. Mark shows his apple to Paul. What's my indirect object there? To Paul. À Paul. It's not me, it's not you, it's third person, therefore it's going to be lui. Marc lui montre sa pomme. You try this one. Philippe fait la cuisine pour ses amis. What's the indirect object? Which pronoun are you going to use? Pour ses amis, it's plural, third person. Leur. Where's it going to go? Right before the verb. Philippe leur fait la cuisine. A little different one. Tieng téléphone à ses parents. What's my indirect object? Yes, à ses parents. What's the pronoun I'm going to use? Third person plural. Leur. Where does it go? Right before the verb. Okay, l'agent de police indique le chemin à nous. Even if you don't know all the words in there, you know what the indirect object is. À nous. Okay, is it us? Yes, it is us. It is therefore first person. Is it singular or plural? Plural. Agent de police nous indique le chemin. Policeman shows us the way. Nous ne posons jamais de questions aux politiciens. Here we got a negative. Okay, ne jamais is never, just like ne pas, only it has to do with time. And what's my indirect object? It's a little bit hidden there because I don't see ah. Instead, I see the contraction of ah and les, O-U-X or A-U-X-O. So that's my indirect object, is au politicien. And where am I going to put it? In front of the verb. It doesn't get separated from the verb by anything. Nous ne leur posons jamais de questions. Et voilà. À bientôt, j'espère. Peut-être on se retrouvera mardi. Ciao.